Ready, hot!
Well, it's been it's good to be back and starting. After getting through the spring and going through the process of feeling each other out, and then getting back. I think everyone's much more comfortable, and with the newness of the staff and the newness of the defense. I think our players, you can see, have done a really good job over the summer. So everything feels much more comfortable, and as comfortable as it can be in a 6-month transition from an old way of doing things or to a newer, different way than obviously when I left 8 years ago. So it's been good. I thought the first 2 days have gone really well. And you can see the carryover from the spring and see our players, really starting to adjust and play fast. And that's the whole thing with defense, is having the ability to play fast, to react to what you see, and not have to think. If you have to think on the football field, as you can see at times, a year ago, I thought there's a lot of thinking going on. We got the short end of that stick, and at times we played well when we hit things, and other times just way too many big plays, and some of it can be mental, some of it can be physical, in asking players what we want them to do. So we have to evaluate everything we're doing from a structure standpoint to what we're asking our players to do. To be able to be efficient and effective and consistent with this defense, playing in a league that we play in. So we're just kind of feeling our way through what we can and can't do, what we feel like we can hang our hat on consistently, down in and down out. So those are the things that we feel much stronger in our position right now than we have probably in a long time. Now that puts a lot of illness on our players. How simple? A lot of people say, well, you're going to be simple. Well, we're simplifying things, but you can only simplify things to a point where your players have to be able to go out and execute those things too. So again, there's a fine line and all that, but this is a very good group of players. I don't know if we have anyone that, I think we have possibilities of players that can be, that we need to turn into difference makers. We need some guys that will step up and be leaders and become difference makers. And that's really, what we need to be an effective group. We need some guys to step up. They can. And they will, and it's going to be interesting to see which of the guys are going to step up and have breakout years, and we need several of them to do that. Aaron Colvin coming back at corner really strengthens our defense. That's made probably a huge difference. He gives us another great cover guy out there on the perimeter, so we're happy to have him back. Stacy McGee and Casey Walker, having those guys back, you can see a difference in our defense, in our front four from any time in the spring. Having those guys be consistent players for us makes a big difference in our defensive line play. Our linebackers, I love our depth at linebacker. I think we have some tremendous players. It's a very strong group of linebackers. Secondary has gotten more athletic over the summer with the addition of some players, and feel good about some of our young players in the secondary. So again, it's going to be an interesting group to see how it all shakes out. But I think our players are excited, and they want redemption. They don't feel good about what happened. We're tired of hearing about what happened a year ago. We understand what happened. That's gone forever. And I'll be surprised if they don't come back with a vengeance in those games and take it personal. And I hope they do. Again, we're tired of hearing about it. Now it's time to do something about it, and we'll work to that place as we go through this season. We're going to get tested plenty of times throughout the course of this 12-game seasons, and a lot's going to ride on, how well we play defense, and we'll see where it takes us.
Mike, one of the things that's come up a lot this summer with fans is, whether it's putting up YouTube videos or whatever, is your interactions on the sideline, that 2000 A&M game with Ante Jones and Rocky Calmus, and how people say players back then had more of an attitude. Is that something that you like? Is that, looking back on that time, was that something that was special about?
Sure, I think defensive players have that edge, and that's the edge that we need to have as coaches and in players. And you get in disagreements. I have players' interaction with me. That's I can care less, and people don't realize what happens in the heat of a game, but it's intense and it's competitive, and those are the things that we have to embrace as a defense. I mean, I don't know if they've embraced them before. I wasn't here again, but those, we will have that same, energy and passion, and hopefully we do things correctly. And these guys, they want to do well. So again, they've embraced what we're trying to instill in them, and they've responded very positively. So.
One of the things that was interesting about that interaction, you probably haven't seen this in forever, but Rocky Calmus comes over and grabs Ante and then starts barking at you. It's like players seem like they were accountable for each other.
Well, Ante barked at me all the time, so that wasn't anything new.
But Rocky
we fought like me and Bob fight. So
yeah, but Rocky turns around, he's like, "Hey, I got this,"
Well, again, that's we had great leadership with that group, and that's that was important. To winning, you have to have leadership. And that's what that team, they had some tough guys. They had a toughness about them that was very unique. There can be a lot of similarities. I mean, that group didn't have a bunch of breakout All-American players. We had some good players, but they played very well as a group. And I think that's what we need for this group to have success. Is we all have to play together and be accountable to each other. And that's that's day in and day out, and that's what we're trying to accomplish.
Mike, it doesn't sound like you have a lot of major concerns, but is there one thing or two things on defense that is your biggest concern?
No, just the amount of offense we're going to see is probably my biggest concern. That we see some very efficient and effective offenses as well. I think the skill level that we see, the quarterback play that we see. I know Texas wasn't as good quarterback. They'll be better. You still see that they're very potent. They have very, efficient and fast football players. So, we're gonna be challenged a great deal throughout the course of the season, and that's probably the thing that, as you see, we're gonna have to play really well, or we're gonna get exposed.
Mike, against those kind of offenses, how do you measure good defense?
Oh, I don't. You play good enough to win. Each particular game takes on a life of its own. Statistics can be misleading in a lot of ways based on schedule and all that. I don't. We want to have great stats. I think it all looks good on your resume, but for us in this league, it's going to be taking each game and doing what we have to do to win that particular game, and that's really all that's important to us is winning. We want to play great defense. We have a lot of pride in what we do, but ultimately it's about winning.
The offenses, from when you were here, and left here, the offenses in this league have changed pretty dramatically, don't you think?
No question. I think that's the biggest change from when I left to here, besides the Thunder, has been the changing of the offense from where we played 8 years ago. So that's been a big change.
All right, 2003. How have you changed? How has this place and Bob changed?
Oh, I don't. This wasn't here when I left. So the facilities have changed a little bit. Bob hasn't changed at all. I don't know. Hopefully I'm a little wiser than I was 8 years ago. But again, I stayed very close to coaching defense, except for last year. That wasn't my defense on the field at Arizona. Besides that, all the other ones were. Just so you guys know that was Coach Kish's fault. So, I stayed in very close and still watch it, as a defensive coordinator when I was a head coach for 8 years. And so, I knew there was a good possibility I'd be back in this position. So, again, I like it. It intrigues me. And, again, the matchups, that we're going to face intrigue me a lot with this group too. So, besides that, players, it's getting to know them, it's getting to understand them, and that's probably that takes a little bit of time. But I think we're through the honeymoon stage of spring football and summer, and our players are ready to go.
You talk about the Nickelback position and the guys playing it, but it seems like that's a versatile position for you that you can do a lot of things with all kinds of personnel. Is that true? Is that right?
Well, people spread you out pretty much. We don't see many games that are played, tight, power football teams. Ours more spread, and you have to have hybrid type of players. Linebackers have to be able to cover a lot of space. Nickelbacks are more like corners now, just like in the NFL to cover. They got to cover a lot of ground, and that's what's changed probably. Just the speed and how much grass you have to cover in the game now. I mean, it goes from sideline to sideline, as you can see, and you have to have very athletic players.
Mike, back in the spring, you were kind of hesitant because I know you were looking to see what everybody could do, where you wanted to put them, but then you didn't have Aaron Colvin out there playing, but it always seemed like he was kind of a wild card for you. Can you just talk about going through that process, knowing how talented and young he was as a player and versatile even?
Well, he's very versatile. I mean, there's nothing he can't really do. He can play any of the 5 positions. He's probably the only guy. He's one of them that could play all 5, literally play all 5 positions and play them at a very high level. He has that tells you his awareness on the field. There's probably DeMontre could, those 2 guys are very, good. They understand football. So these guys have good savvy football skills, and that helps in what we're trying to do. So, Aaron, we have to, you want to be good out on the perimeter, and those guys get the least amount of help. And when we had problems a year ago, it was out, probably out on the perimeter. We had problems with a lot of wide receiver matchups, and we had a lot of issues in some of the games, but hopefully he can solve some of those problems.
As your corner.
Yeah.
Was confidence at all an issue? Have you had to resuscitate guys' confidence, or not so much?
Not so much. I don't, you hope they want revenge. That's what I say. It's redemption time, and, it's time to, we'll see. We'll see what these guys are about, because when someone beats you up like that, it's not fun, and you better respond, or, then our issues are deeper than what I thought they would be. That's how we look at it. We got to take it personal, and we got to come out fighting, and I think they will.
Bob had to make some personnel discipline decisions the last few days. Is that the toughest job as a head coach? Is that the toughest thing you have to do?
It is, because kids make mistakes. I think we're all imperfect people. I don't need to get into the gospel, but kids, the culture of kids is different. Their upbringings, and you try to educate them and teach them the right way to do things. But there are consequences for all our decisions, and they're no different. They certainly know right from wrong. What the team goals and values, and what we, what is sacred to us, and sometimes kids can stray away from those, and you just try to educate them and bring them back. No one wants to dismiss a player. I think players think that sometimes. It's crazy. They think you want to get they get rid of themselves. It's just it's hard, and because they don't get it sometimes. And the hardest thing is when a great player doesn't get it. I think it hurts you. Sometimes it hurts you more than it hurts them, because you see the potential that they possess, but you can't want it more than they want it. and that's ultimately, you know, what it gets down to. You know, we're here to help them and in any way we can. You know, personally, professionally, educationally. I mean, that's what we're here to do.
Going back and looking at some of your comments in February, with, you know, everybody waiting on guys to enroll, you were very high on Gary Simon. Can you talk about just how big that is, getting him in here? It you know, kind of last minute almost.
You can never have enough good players. I mean, that's just, you know, he's a very talented player. He's got a lot of work to do, but he's got a lot of potential. I mean, that's the key word.
And I know you haven't had pads on, but anything stand out to you with your defensive guys, newcomers in the first couple of days?
No, they look better. They look bigger, faster, stronger. The D linemen, those guys make a big difference in our defense. I noticed that. You know, even though we're not in pads, I can tell. You can feel their presence inside, and that's, you know, that's what we needed, and that feels better. Hopefully we can keep those guys healthy and out on the field.
Mike, you signed autographs for the fans today. Did you get a sense from them how they feel about you being back? My sense is the Messiah has returned.
Well, it's kind of crazy. You know, I love it that they're happy I'm back. I don't look at it as a big deal, but tired of hearing it. But it's nice to hear. But I appreciate it. But I'm ready to move past that, and you know, and I want it to feel like it was 8 years ago. And I'm here to do a job, and I'm excited about it. And you know, I tell them, I said, you know, you don't think I want redemption too? I said, I want the same thing you want. You know what I mean? I didn't all of a sudden become a bad coach. I mean, a lot of the media in Arizona may think so, but you know, I was offered about 10 different jobs. So you know, I mean, it's personal for me too. So it ain't different for me.
All right, guys, one more.
You said we need to find some guys that are leaders and difference makers, and I guess, you know, whatever your two deep is, you're going to feel pretty good about it. But do you have a sense of who, you know, 3 to 5 or whatever guys that'll really perform, or is it very wide open?
No, I mean, you know, guys like R.J. Washington, guys that have been around here, David King, DeMontre Hurst, Tony Jefferson, Tom Ward. Those guys have to be, you know, they have to be there every day, and they have to bring it every day and be the leaders and lead by example and lead by their, you know, vocally and by what they do, you know, every day. And those are the kind of guys that they can do it. And so they'll step up, and, you know, those guys have to be the leaders for us.
All right. Thanks, guys.
Thank you.